All right, turning now to the Middle East, President Donald Trump has issued what he has described as a last warning for Hamas to release all remaining hostages held in Gaza. In a post to Truth Social, the president warned the militant group that if it did not comply with this demand, not a single Hamas member would be safe, and he will send Israel, quote, everything it needs to finish the job. For more on this, I'm joined now by John Donison with our partners at the BBC News. John, good to see you. Stern words there from the president. What reaction has there been to this?
Well, no reaction from Hamas, but I think the Israeli government is pretty pleased. We've not had any official comment from the Prime Minister Netanyahu himself, but I just watched a briefing from his spokesperson, David Mencer, and he was pretty combative. He said there wasn't an inch of ground between Israel and America's position. He said Israel had never had a greater friend in the White House, and he really joined in those comments, saying that if Hamas does not release all of the remaining hostages, then there is every chance that the war will resume and Israel will hit Hamas hard.
And John, we also know that this all comes as the White House confirmed the U.S. have had direct talks with Hamas. That's pretty significant, right?
Yes, and I think it's another indication that President Trump is prepared to rip up the rule book when it comes to U.S. diplomacy. America has not had direct talks with Hamas since 1988, when the organization was declared a terrorist organization. So we're talking about more than 3 decades of U.S. diplomatic policy. There may have been talks behind the scenes through various back channels, but these were direct talks between White House officials and Hamas officials, and that hasn't happened before. The Israeli spokesperson I was mentioning, David Mencer, he was asked about those talks. He was pretty evasive in his answer, really no comment on the fact that America now seems to be talking to Hamas directly.
And John, what about the future of the Gaza ceasefire deal? Do we have a sense of what happens next?
Well, I think it's on pretty rocky footing at the moment. Essentially, we now should be into phase 2 of the ceasefire deal, which under the original agreement, which was signed back in January, we should see the remaining hostages begin to be released and the withdrawal of Israeli forces and a permanent ceasefire and end to the war. However, what the Israeli government is now saying is that that initial proposal, which was drawn up under President Biden, but of course with strong influence from the then incoming President Trump, they're saying that is no longer acceptable. And they're saying there is now a new American proposal which will see the first 6-week phase of the deal, the ceasefire, be extended over Ramadan and Passover, which is over the next month or so. And during that time, they want to see all the remaining hostages released, dead and alive, and they want half of them to come out on the first day and half on the last. Well, that is just not acceptable for Hamas without a guarantee that the war will be over and that Israeli forces will withdraw.
Okay, John, thank you for your time. We appreciate this.